Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ace and Co. Full Steam Ahead. And in this powerful episode, I'm your co-host, Antoinette Ellis, along with Anu Bari of Ace and Co. And today we're going to sit down with Sunny and Hasini, the visionary student founders of the Pink Stairs, a global youth-led nonprofit on a mission to empower the next generation of young women through mentorship, leadership, and community building. The Pink Stairs was created by girls for girls, with a focus on making leadership and innovation more inclusive, accessible, and impactful. Sunny and Hissini share their journey as high school leaders driving real world change, from co authoring global coding workbooks and supporting small businesses to creating spaces where young women can grow and lead. So, on today's mission, it already aligns with Ace and Co.'s mission of helping young women explore careers in STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, and grow in confidence through public speaking, creativity, and entrepreneurship. So together, we explore the power of youth-led initiatives, equity in education, and how authentic mentorship can shape bold futures. Thank you. So, welcome everyone, and this is really awesome to be here. So, Sunny and Hassini, welcome to Full Steam Ahead. Can each of you tell us a bit about who you are and what inspired you to launch Pink Stairs?
Absolutely. And thank you so much for having us today. So my name is Sunny. I'm the founder and CEO of the Pink Stairs. Right now, I'm a grade 12 student at Baroque Secondary School. And this fall, I'll be pursuing my post-secondary education in computer science and business. So throughout high school, I was a huge feminist and an advocate just for social equity. So I was involved in a lot of different nonprofits and just different advocacy work. Any opportunity that I had to help out within the community, I wanted to take. So I launched the Pink Stairs because I was honestly just really tired of seeing girls encouraged to lead, but never given the real tools or platforms or trust to do so. So I wanted to create something that was multifaceted and a space where women could actually be empowered to lead through hands-on leadership and community building and like skill development. So I wanted us to be a place where girls could be decision makers and innovators. Yeah.
That is so amazing. So, welcome. I'm going to pass it on to Anu.
That was a really great introduction, Sunny. Could you perhaps maybe expand a little bit more? Like, what was that aha moment that really sparked the creation of your youth-led nonprofit?
Yeah. I think I just got really fed up with how often I would see girls, including myself, holding back. So, for example, I'd be in these STEAM classes or leadership settings, and it was like we weren't allowed to take up space. Like we'd be in the room, but not in the conversation. And that really pissed
Mm.
me off because we were smart, we had things to say, but the environment was just always pushing us to be silent. For example, I took computer science for 3 years in high school. And even though I had one of the top marks, the class was just so male dominated that a lot of the guys still would not take me seriously. Like they would talk over me, they would just ignore my ideas and brush me off. And it was like I wasn't even there. And I just remember in the beginning, I would think, this is not okay. Like, why are we still expected to shrink and fit into this box? And that feeling is ultimately what pushed me to start the Pink Stairs because I just could not stand the idea of girls being made to feel that small, especially girls in the future. I wanted to create that space for the girls to come and just an area where we could be loud and exactly who we are and unapologetic.
That's amazing, and congrats to you for doing that. So
Thank
now
you.
we have Hasini. So what drew you to the Pink Stairs? And so tell us about yourself and your journey with that.
I'll introduce myself first. So,
Hmm.
hi, I'm Hasini. I'm also in grade 12 at Baroque Secondary School, and I'm one of the managing directors for the Pink Stairs. Um, I will be pursuing an education in business in the fall, and my journey with the organization basically started from this place of recognizing how many young women, especially those from underrepresented backgrounds, weren't really given the space to lead early on. And what got me excited was seeing how much potential there was in what the Pink Stairs was trying to do. And so what drew me to the Pink Stairs was mainly this idea that it was one of the first spaces I saw that treated youth leadership as something that was serious and something that you could take action for. And through my role, I've realized just how much I cared about this entire idea of creating equity through opportunities, and whether that's in education or business, STEM, and things like that. I've come to realize that it's not enough for you to succeed personally and in those fields. And it's also really important to see who you bring up with you along the way as well. And so with the Pink Stairs, it's entirely revolved around this idea of uplifting other people and giving them opportunities. And so I think primarily, and yeah, that's instantly what I clicked with. So.
Thank
So I
you.
know that one of the pillars of the Pink Stairs is mentorship. So what does meaningful mentorship look like to you? Especially in this world, shaped by social media and this whole idea of performance culture. So what does mentorship look like to both of you?
Yeah. So to me, mentorship is all about just sharing what you've learned along the way and passing it down to someone who might need it. So it's not necessarily like having everything figured out, but rather just learning as you go and helping others do the same. And I love mentorship because honestly, no one has the answers to everything. We all have our struggles, but we learn from them and then we share that knowledge with others. I always make it a point to help people who might be younger or just newer to the field because somebody has probably done that for me. And it's just a nice way of giving back and making sure that others don't have to go through the same things alone. And I do think that we are living in a world where everything is all about performance and showing off your perfect life on social media. Whereas mentorship is about being real, being there for others, just reminding them that it's okay not to have it all figured out, right? The point isn't to have all the answers, but just to pass along what you know and just help someone else out along their journey. So that's kind of what it means to me.
I love what Sunny said, and I completely agree as well. I think mentorship is just about being real with each other, and especially now when it feels like everyone's biggest achievement is constantly on display, for example, LinkedIn. It's so easy to feel like you're behind or you're not doing enough, but a good mentor would be someone that reminds you that everyone starts at some place. And for me, meaningful mentorship, sorry, is when someone sees you where you are right now and meets you there, as opposed to thinking that you should start at a specific place or where they think you should be. And I've been lucky to have a few mentors in my life who've shared the hard things with me, even though they've also shared their successes. And some examples I can think of could be decisions that haven't gone as planned, or some rejections, or the learning curves that they've faced along the way. And I think this has shaped how I now show up for other people as well. So at the Pink Stairs, we try to build that culture too, and just make sure that mentorship is an idea of growing together and lifting each other as we go.
I really like what you said about those ideas of mentorship. And, Sunny, you were saying, perhaps someone that's younger, but I think as you get older as well, and me and Antoinette can probably relate to this, is mentorship can also be someone that's younger mentoring someone that's older. So I love the way that you were thinking about that.
I love that. And it's so important to recognize that even as young as you are, you can be a mentor to the ones coming up behind you, right? So you
Yeah.
guys are definitely starting off on a beautiful, beautiful way with that. So, what are some of the challenges that you think young women face when stepping into leadership roles, and how is the Pink Stairs helping to dismantle them?
I think that right now, imposter syndrome is such a huge barrier for young women. And it's really just about the psychology of feeling like you're not good enough, even when the evidence might show otherwise. Like you're constantly questioning whether you deserve to be where you are or whether you're just faking it. And I know this is something that so many of us experience, probably because we often lack visible role models and this accurate representation of women in leadership roles. And when you don't see people who look like you or have similar experiences in positions of power, it's really easy to feel like you don't belong there yourself. And that just feeds into this idea that leadership is something that's reserved for certain people and not for
Mhm.
girls like us. At the Pink Stairs, we try to recognize how critical it is to just dismantle that mindset early. I really want young women to feel like they can own their potential without questioning that. So one of the ways that we do this is just making sure that our team, which is full of so many outspoken, brilliant girls, are given the space to lead. We want them to see that like leadership is, it doesn't have to look one way, right? It's just about being yourself and taking charge in your own unique way.
And to add on to her, just talking a bit more about our organization, through our internships and our podcasts, we like to give young women a direct exposure to a lot of different role models and fields, including both in the community and, yeah, just a variety of career fields. And we like to focus on featuring real and impactful women who want to share their stories, their struggles, or their triumphs, whatever it is. And that doesn't necessarily mean that we want to invite highly recognized individuals in our media platforms, since every woman has their own form of impact, even though some people may be spotlighted a bit more than others. And I think that's really important because hearing from women who have been through similar challenges as yourself makes it easier to believe that we can do the same thing and we can also accomplish a lot more too. And with this, we can give young girls this opportunity to see other women out there succeeding in spaces that they might not think is possible for them to succeed in. And ultimately, we just want to create this environment where young women feel comfortable in their own skin.
That's so amazing. I'm like, where was Pink Stairs when I was growing up?
Yes.
To have this, oh my gosh, to have this community and support for young women is so important. I find that when I was younger, to have that community was so much in little silos. You had your group of
Mhm.
friends, and that was it. You didn't really see beyond that. Where I see that Pink Stairs is breaking up all those groups and making sure that it's one big community. So, kudos to you guys for being able to
Thank
do
you.
that.
Kind of going along those lines, can you share perhaps an example for a moment when you think that the Pinksters created that real breakthrough for someone in your community?
Yeah. So, one moment that comes to mind is someone that we brought on as an executive at the Pink Stairs. When she first joined, she was pretty quiet, kind of unsure of herself. She wasn't very vocal during
Hmm.
meetings, but you could still tell that she cared a lot. She had a lot of passion for the mission and she put in all that effort. So we still made that effort to give her the space to try things out and, let her lead small projects and express her ideas and just kind of take ownership on what she was good at. And then fast forward a few months, she ended up becoming the director of her department, and she just completely stepped into her role. And we saw her leading these meetings and helping out new executives, just bringing her own ideas to the table, even during like director meetings. And I loved watching that shift happen, just seeing her go from like kind of hesitant and shy to confident. And I think a lot of people like they see someone that's maybe not as sure of themselves and they will just immediately assume like they're not cut out to be a leader or like they just don't have that potential in them and they go straight for someone who's maybe more confident already. But I think that everybody really has that potential and it's so important that as leaders or like as mentors, perhaps we can recognize that potential and give them the space to grow rather than, immediately just cutting them out of that opportunity.
Yeah, definitely.
That's amazing. So, Sunny, we want to continue on with you. You've authored, and I was blown away when I saw this, that someone in high school, a young lady, authored a coding workbook and competed in hackathons. So, how do you see technology as a tool for equity, especially in education? But before you answer that, can you tell us how did you get into you know, authoring a coding workbook? I really want to know about that. I know that you mentioned that you kind of stumbled upon the hackathon, which kind of directed to where you wanted to go. But yeah,
Yeah.
tell us about this coding workbook.
And where can we find it?
Yes.
Okay. Um, So the coding workbook, I started with my friend. Both of us are like really passionate about technology. I think every hackathon that I've been to, she's been like by my side, and we both just love it so much. Um, we oftentimes like to reflect on like how privileged we are to have the education. It's a little bit of an inside joke. Like sometimes one of us will complain that we have an upcoming test or a lot of assignments, and then the other will just say like, honestly, we're still really privileged for like a test to be
Mhm.
our biggest issue in life, right? Like
Yes,
maybe
yes.
we should, instead of complaining, just be grateful that we can complain about a test in the first place. So we've always had like an underlying recognition that we are very lucky to have education. And I feel like we felt like as technology was becoming more and more global and it's like integrated into everything, our everyday lives, any like industry or platform now has technology.
Mhm.
It's so universal, and there's no reason why anybody should be excluded from learning how to code or participating in that just because of their location or their background or their gender. So we wanted to like bridge that gap to accessing education. And the other thing is like not even just coding, just like learning technology itself, I feel like can help with a lot of skills that you can apply to other areas of life, like how to approach a challenge methodically, how to break a problem down. Um, so that was kind of what inspired us to create that workbook. In terms of actually making it, I mean, it honestly sounds so cool, but when I like think about the process, it seemed pretty simple. Like we um we outlined like a checklist of what we wanted it to cover, like
Yeah.
the history of coding or like data structures or like just what concepts we thought were pretty essential. We didn't want to make it super fancy, like it's not going to replace a university degree in computer science or anything, but just like something that maybe someone who's never seen a line of code before could still understand. And it was for kids, so we tried to keep it like fun with little metaphors. For example, like I used like baking a cake as an example of creating program. um yeah, so we worked on it like literally just on Google Docs, and then we reached out to some like mentors, professors, people that had a background in education or technology, and just asked them to help us out with like proofreading it, editing
Mhm.
it, getting it out there. And another way that we tried to get it out there was just like I would find people that were maybe located in another country or were already working on like spreading education in a developing area. And I would just say, hey, we have this workbook. I'd love to like send it to you that maybe you can share with the youth and like free of charge. And obviously they would love the idea. And then we would just send them like a digital copy most of the time. And yeah,
Wow, that is so amazing. That is so amazing. And where can we get this workbook?
I can email it to you like a copy.
Thank you. Like, is it it's open to the public? Because what we can do is we could put a link to the workbook for
Oh, I
anyone
would
that
love
watches
that.
this podcast.
Yeah, that would be great. I
All
can
right.
send you a link.
So I knew we definitely got to do that because
Yes,
I
yes.
know there's some adults that are
My mind is
hesitant,
already going like,
right?
who can I share this with?
Right? That might be hesitant about coding. That this, even though it's written for kids, I think adults can benefit from that as well.
I definitely think so.
That's awesome. So, Sunny, how do you see technology as a tool for equity, especially in education?
Um, I think that like it all just starts with access, and it's so
Mhm.
widespread that I once heard somebody say like if you're in technology, you can do any you can try anything you want to do. That sounds so cliche, but like it's just everywhere to the point where if you're in technology, you really can like no matter what niche industry you're interested in, technology is probably somehow involved in it. And you can combine your love with that industry with technology. So that's just something I love about it. Um, but the other thing is, I think that, like I said before, having giving students like that opportunity to participate in technology, for example, hackathons, they taught me coding, but they also taught me how to solve problems, how to deal with challenges, especially in such like a fast-paced and pressure-inducing environment. Um, like giving young people the tools to be able to solve problems like that they can apply to other industries or other aspects of life it just opens up like more opportunities for them to make a real impact.
Wonderful. Hasini, how does the Pink Stairs support young women interested in entering fields like perhaps business, technology, or science, areas that we think are often underrepresented by women?
Yeah, so at the Pink Stairs, we know how intimidating those spaces can feel, especially when you don't see a lot of people that look like you in the room.
Mhm.
And so a big part of what we do is focused on exposure and just giving access. And we like to bring in female speakers from the same fields, business, tech, and science. And we like to create opportunities for girls to actually engage with those careers that and a few examples of this could include panels or workshops and project or research-based learning, and just give them a variety of different opportunities to engage. And besides those career talks, we also like to focus on just generally building confidence or leadership skills and just a sense of belonging. Because even if someone is interested in STEM or business, for example, they might hold back just because they could feel like they don't belong in that specific field, or maybe they don't have the right skills for it, or they're just not confident enough.
Yeah.
So instead of being like, here's a job you could do one day, or here's something you could explore, we want to focus on saying that, hey, you're capable of this, you're needed, and we want to help you get there and just give you the tools that you can use to succeed.
So really looking at the skills of people and how to,
Yeah.
an easier way to make them better.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow. So at Ace and Co, as you know, we believe in building confidence in public speaking and self-expression. So how do you empower girls in your programs to find their voice and use it boldly? And I'll ask that to Hasini.
So we like to focus on a lot of workshops that give girls the chance to build both technical and soft skills in a way that can actually empower them. And we want to create spaces where they can practice speaking up, for example, whether that's through presenting their ideas, if we choose to do a research-based project, or leading a specific group, or just learning how to get comfortable in their own skin when they talk because they may not have the confidence to engage in public speaking skills. So we just
Mhm.
want to help them break through their nerves by encouraging them to step out of their comfort zones and take these risks, because if you don't take a risk now, then you might not be able to later on. And we want them to feel like their opinions matter and they can speak boldly. So yeah, I think some examples could include a workshop on sponsorships, for example, and we want to have one on negotiations soon. So just small workshops like
Mm.
that, just to help build the skills, or yeah.
Very quickly, like where do these workshops happen? Are you doing them in your school spaces? Are they online? Like where does this happen?
We do them online, and just to like kind of add on to what Hasini said, I think one of like this idea of doing the workshops or just like learning with your team is so underrated.
Mhm.
Um, I personally believe it's really important that rather than like just cherry picking people want to be on your team that like you think, oh, they already have the skills, they're so qualified, which is great. I think it's more important to find people that are passionate and willing to put in that time and effort to learn because we can always learn together. Like somebody might, maybe they don't know how to negotiate, and that's important for the role that you want them to do. But now they can, like, if we have that workshop, they can learn it and they're willing to put in that time to learn. They care enough about the mission, then they're still going to do the job just as well.
Mhm.
True. So true. Thank you for that. So let's talk a little bit about collaboration and visions for the future. The Pink Stairs and ASICO, we both champion youth empowerment and leadership. How do you see partnerships like this expanding your impact?
So I can answer that. I think partnerships like these are honestly where a lot of the magic happens, because what Ace and Co is doing, especially with spotlighting opportunities in STEAM and making sure that women and girls are supported in those spaces really align with what we're about at TPS as well. And when we partner with organizations like ACE and Co, I think we're able to expand these conversations that we're having about women empowerment, sorry, and have a deeper focus on things such as showing a young girl what a future in tech might look like for her, or
Mhm.
in engineering, design, or things like that. And with ACE and Co's workshops and industry connections, I think we could get our community to offer more tools, more access, and just ways to explore, ways for young women to explore their interests with this real sense of support behind them. And when young people see that, I think it will definitely encourage them to reach out or get involved and just believe that there's a place for them in these fields as well, which I think is very important.
It is. And so I'm saying to our audience out there, if there are any organizations that are moved by pink stairs, then you definitely need to partner with them as well so that we can have such a bigger impact. And what I love about pink stairs is you guys, it's a global initiative. It's not just about what's happening in your local community. So congrats to you guys for that. So audience, make sure you reach out to pink stairs.
So, what's next for the Pink Stairs? And, what legacy do you hope to leave behind as, student leaders, considering you're moving from, high school and now you're going into the next phase, of your learning career?
Yeah, looking ahead, I really just want to see the Pink Stairs grow even more. I think that we've built something really amazing so far, and there's so much potential to reach even more young women around the world, especially if they're in a country that's maybe like it's not as easy to access resources like these. So whether that might be through more programs that are accessible or partnerships that can help us with that, or just creating more virtual spaces where we can connect with girls everywhere, I want the Pink Stairs to be a place that continues to empower and support women. So like not just scaling for the sake of scaling, but making sure that what we've built so far is sustainable and it can keep growing even if we've moved on to the next chapters in our lives, like university. Um, I hope that we can be like a launch pad for future leaders as well. I want to see more young women just stepping up and being able to take on leadership roles, and feeling confident rather than just like feeling like they have to downplay their strengths or something. So I hope that we can contribute to creating a culture where every girl feels more comfortable about who she is and she knows that it's okay to take up space and be unapologetic about her success. And that's kind of the legacy that I hope we can leave behind. Yeah.
Thank you. And how can young people, especially girls, get involved in your work and make a difference in their own communities? Especially if they're, because you're global, so especially if they're somewhere else in the world, like
Mhm.
how do we get other girls involved in your work?
I think the best way is just to reach out, and it's as simple as that. Whether you want to join like volunteer or join a program or even start your own initiative, but you want our support, I think there's just a lot of different ways that you can get involved, and people don't necessarily need a perfect resume or a long list of accomplishments to be a part of this because that's not what we're about. And we're not saying that if you have that long list of accomplishments, that's what's going to get you farther down the line. And what matters most are traits such as curiosity or drive and just a willingness to learn. I think those are very important. And one thing is that a lot of us at the Pink Stairs believe that leadership doesn't have to start at a specific point because, first of all, leadership looks different to everyone. They have a different way that they view it and just a different way that they experience it or step into it. So with this, I think that like we just essentially believe that you can step into leadership anytime. And once you try to get involved or just get involved in general, even in a small way, that's when you can start realizing how much you're capable of and what you can do. And this way, you can both work on building your confidence and just seeing the impact that you can have on other people. And overall, if you're someone that's passionate about making change, then I think that's already half of what you have, or just what you have to like, sorry, have what it takes. And with the Pink Stairs, our end goal is to meet you where you are and help you grow from there if you choose, if you want our support.
That's amazing. So, one thing I realized we didn't touch on is where is Pink Stairs located? Where are you guys?
So we started out like in the Greater Toronto area because, well, that's where I'm from, and like that's where most of the people that I know are from. So like in the very beginning, our team was mo mainly just from people that were within like different cities around Toronto. Slowly though, like we expanded to more and more, like we have reached more and more countries, which I love so much. I'm hoping, like I said before, that we can kind of like continue to scale because as much as like what I've said today about everything that we as women face in the first world, I think there are like even more issues to be worried about in other countries, especially in the third world, where while I'm talking about um like the biases that I face in my education, there are women who don't even have an education. And
Hmm.
Right.
that's something that I really hope we can like address.
Nice. And do you have any stats that you could share with us, like how far your reach has gone so far, and you know, things of that
Yeah,
nature, so that we could tell people
sure.
about the awesomeness that you guys are doing?
So we have reached around 250 volunteers. That includes like our
Wow.
main team, our main team, as well as people that have like helped out with different programs or events. We reached 26 countries and our social media, because we do a lot of short form content to reach like youth. We reached around 8.4 million girls through like social media campaigns and
Wow.
10,000 combined followers.
That is amazing.
They
That
are
is
just
amazing.
killing it.
They are. They are. And how big is your team?
I believe right now we have around 70 people like on our executive board.
That is amazing. And I'm telling you, as young people, you have a blueprint that could be that can also help other adults that are trying to make an impact and don't even know how. So
Hmm.
to see this done starting at high school is amazing. And I could just imagine what you guys are going to do in university and beyond. So
Yeah.
this is really great.
Thank you.
So let's kind of do a bit of a rapid fire as we begin to wrap up. So for both of you, who's a woman in STEAM that really inspires you that, you kind of look at and you're like, wow, that's exactly kind of the level perhaps I want to get to and maybe even beyond that.
I think Greta Thunberg, and I remember a few years ago she had like there were like clips of her coming out and people on the internet would troll her because she was very outspoken about climate
Yes.
change and like people thought she was too emotional about the cause. But I am really inspired just by the fact that she stood her ground and she used her emotion as like fuel to continue fighting for the planet. So that just reminded me that like you should stand firm in your beliefs and you should fight for what you believe in, not despite that emotion, but like because of it.
Hmm. What about you, Hasini?
For me, I would say Dr. Feifei Lee. She's a leader in AI, but what I love most about her is how she's focused on making sure that technology is used for the greater good. And I know that kind of sounds a bit cliche, but like I recently came across her actually, and I saw that she's someone who's deeply committed to making sure that AI benefits everyone, especially those who are left out of the picture. And I think that approach shows that even though like you could be at the top of your field, but you could still be thoughtful about how your work can impact other people. And I really like that. So
I love the two different spectrums that,
Yes.
you have in your answers. Someone very well known globally and someone like, who is that? I need to learn more about that person.
Hmm. So, if you could give one piece of advice to your 12-year-old self, what would it be?
I would say the world needs your perspective. When I was 12 or even younger, I was so caught up in trying to fit in or stay quiet, and I didn't want to like rock the boat. And so I thought that blending in would just make things easier, but I did not realize how much I was shrinking my own voice. And I didn't understand then that my perspective, especially as a young woman, was something that the world needed to hear. Over time, I've kind of realized that through my experiences, my thoughts, and even my mistakes. They've all shaped how I uniquely see the world, and that perspective has power. So now, like as I've grown, I realized that, our voices, especially women's voices, are usually the ones that are missing from important conversations. And if we're not speaking up, then we're leaving a gap in the story. So I feel like all of our viewpoint matters. My viewpoint matters, even if it's uncomfortable. And I want my younger self to know that it's okay to take up space and the world should hear what you have to say. Like your perspective is never too small and it's never something to hide.
Agreed. What about you, Hasini? What would you tell your 12-year-old self?
I would tell my 12-year-old self that you shouldn't wait for someone to say that you're ready. I think that if something excites you or even scares you a little bit, then that usually means that it's something that's worth doing. And I used to think that I needed to be fully equipped with knowledge or just know a lot about a specific topic before I could step up or try something new. But
Hmm.
I think that the truth is you learn while you're doing something and not before. And there's a lot to learn along the way. So growth happens when you take that first step, even if you're unsure. So I would tell my 12-year-old self that just this sense of growth and confidence isn't a skill, sorry, that you're already born with. And
Hmm.
you rather actively build that, you develop it, and you just learn more about yourself along the way. So it's just really important to take that risk or ask that question that you have and just speak up and put yourself out there because there's never a specific point where you're just ready or someone's like, you're ready, you can do this now because you're at the specific age or things like that. So just don't wait for someone to tell you that you're ready and do what you want to do.
I have to say, the pieces of advice that you would give yourself is so impactful for adults today. It could be for
Hmm.
anybody.
Yeah.
And just thinking about my childhood, growing up as a teenager, I was taught you're supposed to be seen but not heard. And we don't realize as young people how that carries with us through adulthood.
Yeah.
So sometimes a lot of us women don't even have the courage to speak up for ourselves, to do it anyway when they're not ready. So this is a perfect example of where Anu was talking about where we can learn from younger people. We are learning so much from you all.
Yeah. I'm like blown away by your answers. If I had the confidence that you have at your age right now, when I was like, what are you, 17, 18?
Yeah.
I would probably have gone so much further than I am right now.
Right? And I find that it's so important. The work that you're doing is so important because when I think back as a teen, I was just so hurried to get out of school. I was just in a hurry, just let me graduate and get it over with. When you're looking at pig stairs now, you're like, don't hurry. Take the journey and build your skills to prepare you for what's out there for tomorrow. So I want to say thank you both so much for the work that you're doing. And we here at Ace and Co are going to be rooting for you and supporting you guys all the way through. So don't hesitate to reach out to us and telling our audience as well, please feel free to reach out to Sunny and Hasini and let them know about the awesome work they're doing and how you can help grow this initiative. So thank
Yeah.
you, everyone.
Thank you so
Awesome. Thank
much.
you so much. Your support means the world to us. And thank you so much for
Thank you for
helping
having
to
us.
spread the message.
No problem at all.